Thanks, Matt. Hey, everybody. So, how many of you grew up on stories of heroes who left their home, and went on a journey? Okay. How many of you grew up in these kinds of stories, heroes who went on journeys? Just about everybody. Good. Now, second show of hands, how many of you then left your home and went on that kind of journey yourself? We have a few. That's really good. That's exciting. So I grew up on these kinds of stories. And when I would hear these stories as a kid, people going on great journeys around the world and getting into something much bigger than themselves, gaining a purpose, doing something heroic, I was this little kid, and I said to myself, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And the journey that I wanted to go on was to South America. No. There we go. And I remember seeing pictures like this when I was a kid and thinking, this is a real place? Like, you can go there? And I made up my mind that I was going to travel and see the jungles of the Amazon, the Andes Mountains, the ancient pyramids, all of these things. So when you're a kid and you start talking about this, and you're getting older and you're getting older and you're still talking about this, your parents start to worry. And my parents pointed out to me that there would be some hurdles to, living as a wandering adventurer. And they, for example, they said, well, what about money, right? Travel costs money. How are you going to pay for it? And they said, well, what about a job? How will you work if you're out traveling? And as I grew older, I realized that most people don't take these hero stories seriously. To most of us, they're just stories you tell when you're little. When you grow up, you kind of put them aside because they're impossible. And I decided to set out to prove that wrong. So, my idea was this. Okay. I wanted to go from one great river to another, from the Mississippi River all the way to the end of the Amazon River. But the hurdles that my parents had talked about were very real. I had to figure out what to do about them, right? So the first one was, well, travel's expensive. How will you pay for it? And what's the most expensive part of traveling? The plane ticket, right? So I looked at this map, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's land the whole way. Like, I could just ride my bicycle. Like, you could skateboard this, right? And so that's what I decided to do. I was going to go the entire way on my bicycle. I also had to think about how I would work. And I started to look into whether I could be a rider on the road. And it turns out you can make a little bit of money as a freelance rider. It was enough to keep trail mix in my bag. And so a couple of years ago, I set out and I started bicycling. I bicycled across the United States, and I bicycled across Mexico so far. I'm about halfway through the journey. Let me tell you, this kind of trip is not easy. And to give you an idea of what it's like, I want to share something that happened to me in Mexico in the desert. And I was trying to cross this desert to get to the next big city on my bicycle, and I made a mistake that adventurers had been making for ages. I looked at a map and said, I see a shortcut. And the map said, and Google said, and everybody I talked to said, go way out of your way and take this other highway and you'll connect with the city later. And I was like, no, look at this. There's this little country road that cuts almost right across the middle of the desert, straight to that city. I'll just take that. All right. So I got on my bike and started going. It was a beautiful day. There was a burning hot sun, freezing cold wind, but just the most gorgeous desert terrain. I was really enjoying it until the road just stopped. Middle of nowhere. Nothing more but empty desert ahead of me. Well, here's my problem. I'm a little stubborn. And I could have just turned around and backtracked, but I'm not doing that. I would lose a whole day of bicycling, right? So I looked at this, and well, I know that the city is roughly that direction, and I know how many miles it is. I'll just cross the desert. What's the problem? So I did. So I hopped off my bike, because you have to really rocky terrain. I'm walking it across this desert. Got pebbles in my shoes. There's cacti, and I'm skidding out on loose stones. And I was really kind of lost in thought. Because here's the thing. I'm an adventurer, but I'm not a thrill seeker. I'm really much of a planner. I like to plan everything. So in my head, I'm like, okay, how much water do you have? Okay, do you have any food? Yeah, a little bit. Can you spend the night out here? Yeah, it'll be freezing cold, but I think you can make it, And I'm not really paying attention. I just happen to look up, and I freeze. Because here, ripping across the desert, is a tornado. I'm like, what? What? And right away, my head is just kind of spooling up. I'm like, okay, Andre, how are you going to survive this one? Like, no, just run. Get out of there. But before I could even move, it's just gone. It was not a tornado, it was a dust devil, a huge dust devil that reached up to the sky. And when it disappeared, the sort of wall of sand hit me. Great, okay. So I look around, well, that was weird. And it gave me a new sense of awe for what I was doing and for where I was. But it didn't change the fundamental math. I was thinking about the risk. I'm like, well, I still know the direction to go in, I think. And I still know how far it is and my supplies. Yeah, I'm going to keep going. So I walked all day through this desert. The hours went by. Eventually, the sun is starting to get low in the sky. And up ahead, I see a truck in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, oh, this might not be good, And there's people around the truck, and I see that they have tools, and they're doing something. And I realize it's a construction crew, and they're building the road. I'm like, guys, it's already on the map. You're supposed to be done, right? So I kind of rolled out of the desert toward them, and they see me coming, this foreigner, just like walking out of the desert with a bicycle. And they're just like, what? And I do one of these. Buenos tardes. So I made friends with them, and then they showed me where to get water, and it was a great day. And I did actually make it to the city that day before nightfall, and the trip went on. Now, these kinds of experiences have had a profound impact on me, and they've taught me a lot about what it means to be a hero. And I want to be really clear. I have never done anything heroic at all. But I do view a journey as almost like school for heroes. You will learn the skills you need to do something heroic. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a few things. If you're going to be the person who stands forward and takes action and helps others in a bad situation, there's a few skills you need, right? And the first one surprises people, but it's just being willing to stand out. Now think about it. If you're the first one taking action when nobody else will, everyone will be staring at you, and everyone will be judging you, and you just have to own it and just do it anyway because you know it's right. And standing out is what it means to be a traveler. Everywhere I go, I'm the foreigner. I look different from people. I talk with an accent. My Spanish is not perfect. And everywhere I go, people stare at me, especially when you got the bicycle. And I've just gotten used to it. Another thing you need in order to do something heroic is the ability to make quick decisions, and they have to be good decisions. Because usually if something bad is going down, you won't have a lot of time or a lot of information, and you have to just react and do the right thing quickly. And that's basically what traveling is on an everyday basis. It could be something as simple as when you missed your connecting flight, now you have to quickly come up with a new plan, or something as big as you're walking through the desert and the road ends. Right? The last thing you really need to be a hero is empathy. This is crucial. Because if you cannot sense the needs of the people around you or the pain that people have, even when they're different from you, then you will never notice a bad situation before it gets worse. And this is the great lesson that travel teaches us. I'm actually a shy person by nature, but because I've journeyed so much, I can walk into any town in the world and go up to people very different from me and find common ground and make friends. It could be rich people, it could be poor people, it could be people in the middle, but there's always something we have in common. Even sometimes when there's no language that we have in common, we're able to communicate. That's a powerful thing. But the biggest reason I want all of you to go on a journey is to find your purpose in life. The heroes of our stories always find something bigger than themselves when they're on their journeys. And this was my question. When you go out and do this in real life, does this happen? And the answer is yes. If you feel like you are meant to do something important in this world, and you're not sure how to start or how to do it, go on a journey. Go on a journey and you will find your purpose. That is a promise. Now, for me, my journey has changed me in a few ways. First of all, I found out that I can live my childhood dream. I've gone so far 4,700 miles under my own body power, every inch of the way. I've got 4,000 more to go. And I'm really excited about all 4,000 of those. And yes, I did find my purpose. It turns out my purpose in the world is to be an author. And about a year ago, my first book came out, was published, and that feels really good. But that's my journey. Your journey can be very different from this. Everybody can do this kind of thing, and everybody's going to do it in their own way. When you go on your journey, you probably aren't going to take a bicycle. You might not go as far around the world as I went. You might not stay away from home as long as I've stayed. You may not be able to leave your job or your family, and that's fine. All you really need to do is look on a map and choose a town 1 hour, 2 hours away from where you live, where you've never been before. That's the key. And take a weekend and just go. And when you're there, talk to strangers. Walk up, smile, say, hey, I've never been here before. What should I see? Where's a good place to eat? Are you from here? And find that common ground. You can do this going camping. You can go this to another city. There's many ways to do this. But when you take these journeys, even these small journeys, they will change you. They will change the way you see yourself. They will change the way you see others in the world. And they will get you ready. And yes, if the time ever comes, you will be able to be a hero. Thank you.